gigabytes of free space on my C drive. So I'm going to take just a second before I begin the recording. Hello and welcome to today's Office Hours presentation. This is Paul Hoyt, your host. Our Office Hours is a relaxed, informal mentoring program that we do almost every Monday at noon Pacific time. All these recording slides and exercises are archived in the members area of our website, and all the recordings are currently available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/user/Paul Hoyt. The reasons we do these Office Hours presentations are that being a successful small business owner can be a great experience, but it's also tough. We know that you need education, training, tools, and team in order to be successful, and we want you to get to know us, because when you do, you'll know that first and most importantly, we really do care about you, and we want you to be successful in every area of your life, whatever that means to you. We want you to find the greatness, the happiness, the divinity within yourself, and then remember it, embrace it, and live it every single day as we try to do. Our passion is to increase the survival rate, accelerate the growth rate, and reduce the struggle rate of businesses in America, and our vision is to help millions of CEOs and entrepreneurs accelerate their business growth and enjoy greater harmony and balance in their lives. If you find these Office Hours presentations to be beneficial to you, please pass the word. They're free to anybody who comes to our website to sign up, and the recordings, of course, are available on the YouTube channels currently, and we want to help out as many people as we can, so pass the word. If you find these beneficial to you, we certainly would appreciate it. In our Office Hours presentations, we have an in-depth discussion of a business success principle. Then we offer some closing remarks, special offers, and an invitation for next week's session, and then we go into open Q&A and coaching. So as you are listening to the presentation today, especially those who are listening to it live, think about what comments and what questions that you might have or suggestions you might have, because in keeping with the theme of today's presentation, we're going to play a little game. And the person who offers what we consider to be the most valuable and interesting comment or question at the end of today's presentation gets a free 1-hour consulting call with me personally. So that's right. So that's the game that we're playing today. Be thinking about the questions that you might ask, the comments that you might offer, because at the end of the call, Stephanie and I are going to decide who is the one who offered the best question or the best comment, and you get a free 1-hour coaching session. We encourage you to join us in the Awakened CEO communities on both LinkedIn and Facebook, where we offer a business success principle a day, usually 4 days a week, on both Facebook and LinkedIn, and I post my Energy of the Day message every morning on Facebook. Every morning when I get up, I try to think of something insightful or inspirational to say, and I offer that in terms of an Energy of the Day posting. Today was, I think, day number 942 in a row. I'm looking forward to August the 17th, which will be day number 1,000 in a row. We're going to have some kind of celebration about that, I'm sure. So today we're going to talk about the book called Hooked, A Guide to Building Habit-Forming Products by Nir Eyal. We always relate the subject matter of the day to one of the more key performance areas of success that I defined in my 2004 book called The Foundation Factor. And understanding game theory and how to apply it to your business is key in both marketing and product development. Marketing in terms of figuring out ways to hook your marketplace and hook your customer base, and product development so you can actually build gaming techniques into your product itself. We also try to relate the subject matter of the day to one or more of the levels of performance that we defined in the Awakened CEO system. Those levels of performance are your mindset, which is your beliefs and your perspectives, your methods, which is plans, processes, and procedures, and your momentum, taking action, accelerating your velocity. What we say is that it's really important for you to function well on all three of these levels. Just knowing what to do and getting into action really won't serve you well if you don't focus on your mindset. And of course, focusing on your mindset, your attitudes, your beliefs, your perspectives won't work if you don't actually have a plan and actually do the work. Today, when we talk about gamification systems and techniques and how to apply them to your business, it's really about mindset and methods, about your attitude towards game playing, and it's about some techniques that we're going to offer that will help you apply gaming principles or gamification principles into your business. We're not going to talk a lot about getting into action and establish momentum in your business. Today we're going to talk about the author Nir Eyal a little bit. We'll give a brief introduction to gamification. We'll talk about the 4 steps to the hook model that Mr. Eyal introduced in his book. And we'll talk about the ethics of hooking a little bit, and we'll go back to the bottom line. Now for you out there, this isn't about hookers. This is about hooking, which is much, much different. We're not going to talk anything at all about hookers today. Background, let's talk a little bit about the author himself. Nir Eyal was studying for his Stanford MBA and began getting little contracts to work on placing advertising into online social games. And so his thoughts naturally went of how can we get people to play these social games more frequently so that we can have more impressions and that our advertisers' messages will reach more eyeballs. So he began to ask himself the question of how do we increase customer loyalty? How do we increase customer interaction? And how do we get people to play little games, or how do we play little games with our audience so that we can get them to do the behaviors that we want them to do? And he found that there weren't any blueprints on forming habits and on play through game theory especially. So he did a lot of research and began to write papers, and as a result of his research and a result of his MBA studies, he began consulting with other companies and began teaching at Stanford and other places on gamification theory and how we can apply the theories of what makes a good game, what makes a game be an addictive game, an enticing game, and apply those in other areas of business to increase our business results. The gaming industry, as it turns out, is a huge, huge industry. So when we think of gaming industry, first thought for me especially turns to games of chance, which is a $140 billion a year industry. And the games of chance, I think of Las Vegas. I think about now these days about online gaming where you can play poker online, you can play blackjack online, you can bet on the ponies online. That whole gaming industry is absolutely huge because people love to win. We love to play games that give us a chance to feel like a winner. Recently, we've seen the video game industry come on board, which has only been in the last 20 or 30 years or so. It is now a $24 billion a year industry, which makes it 2.5 times as large as the movie industry, which is a $10 billion industry. We're already taking all of the gaming techniques into the mobile marketplace so that people can play games wherever they are, on their smart pad, on their tablet, on their laptop, wherever they happen to be, either games that are standalone or games that require some sort of a communication with other game players. And we've seen a lot of introduction to what is now called the freemium model, which makes it free to play a game in some way but it costs you money in order to upsell, to unlock features, to avoid interruptions, to get rid of the advertisements, to gain superpowers, etc. So the gaming industry, which used to be Las Vegas and Las Vegas only, then it spread to Atlantic City, and then it spread to other areas. Then we started having Native American casinos in practically every place in the country, and then it spread online, is really, really a huge business. The whole art and science of getting people to play games so that they will continue to pay their money so that they can play those games and have funds and have a chance at seeing themselves as being a winner is really huge. Gamification then is the art and science of applying the elements of game playing to other activities to modify behaviors. As it turns out, we humans love things like points, badges, levels, and leaderboards. We like to see that we are making progress by accumulating points along the way. We like to be rewarded for that progress through badges and some sort of certification. We love to feel like that we have achieved another level of attainment in some way by leveling up, by going from grade 1 to grade 2, by going from being a bronze player to a silver player, by getting the rewards that we get from achieving the next level of a game. And we love to have leaderboards. We love to know how we are doing compared to other people. Here are some examples. In real world, in the business world, we have sales contests. I don't know about you, but I had experience of working on many very large sales teams for many very large companies. And they almost always ran a sales contest. They almost always had some sort of a contest going on about, for the person who sold the most of a particular product or a particular product line this quarter would get a free TV. Or if you made quota for the year, you and your entire team would win a trip to Bali or a trip to Maui or a trip somewhere, not just for you, but for your wife as well. Because we recognized early that in sales contests that we really want to appeal to the wife or the spouse of whoever was the salesperson, because they could get a lot of influence from home to work those extra hours because the significant other, because the spouse, because the wife, wanted to win that trip to Hawaii, and they would drive their husbands in order to do that. That was a classic technique that we used, dozens of years ago, and I assume are still being used today for sales contests to modify the behavior of our sales teams. We also have things like fundraising campaigns and referral contests. So with fundraising campaigns, we see this with for-profits and nonprofits, but especially nonprofits, is there's games that we play for those who contribute the most, or games that we play for those who refer the most to our particular endeavor, so that we can reward people, because people love to play games and people love to feel like winners. We see a lot of social media gamification with friends and connections. Almost, every time that we log into a social media outlet, whether it be Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, where we are given in our face the number of friends that we have, the number of connections that we have, the number of followers that we have, etc. And it becomes a game to us to see how rapidly we can build up the number of friends, connections, and followers. We also have the number of likes or the number of endorsements. With LinkedIn and with Facebook, we can have the number of likes. And I know it always makes me feel good, and probably makes you feel good, when people like the posts that I have shared with them. And we love to get the number of endorsements. LinkedIn has a wonderful strategy for accumulating endorsements for people who have LinkedIn profiles. We can get notifications from social media, sometimes via Facebook, via email, or every time that we sign in to things like Facebook or take a look at it, we can see the number of notifications about where somebody has shared a post with our name in it, somebody has shared a photo that they have tagged for us, somebody might be liking something that we posted, somebody may make a post in a group to which we belong, etc. Notifications are a very good way to increase the addictive behavior, the addictive capacity of the social media outlets that we experience. The gamification benefits are really astounding for businesses. We focus behaviors, we reward and encourage people to exhibit particular behaviors based upon our gaming techniques. We can build habits, which are wonderful. If we can build somebody having a habit of coming to our website every week, somebody building a habit of coming to our office hours presentation every week, it increases the engagement, which increases customer loyalties. It helps us, and it really helps us achieve our business goals as well. So here's why gaming works. Number one is we just love to make progress. We as human beings love those attaboys. We love we love to log our progress, and we love to keep track of our progress, because we somehow feel inherently that if I make enough progress, that we're going to have some accomplishment, that we're going to have a reward at the end of that progress. And we love that feeling of accomplishment, of doing something that we've never done before, of doing something that we've did better than we've ever done before, etc. Because we just love to win. We just love to win. We love to feel like winners. We love to associate with winners. We love to compete against ourselves, and we love to compete against other folks. There are some folks out there that say that competition is a dirty word, but I don't believe that at all. I think competition comes in a couple of different forms. There's positive competition where we inspire each other to do better than we would have otherwise without that competition, such as, the first one who can do 100 push-ups or the first one to lose 20 pounds. There are lots of ways in which we can positively inspire ourselves. Be the first one to, run an 8-minute mile. Be the one who, let's have a competition with ourselves and, see who can ride 20 miles on our bike the furthest. There's a lot of ways that we can positively compete with each other to inspire ourselves to have behaviors that are really very healthy and happy behaviors. There is, of course, the whole crush your enemy attitude towards playing games that I don't like, that nobody likes. If you have a game to where there's only one winner and everybody else is considered to be a loser, especially if they're disparaged in some way about being a loser, I don't like that at all. There are games that where there's only one winner and everybody else is seen as a loser are not games that I think are very, very, helpful to our society at all. I like games where everybody is seen to be a winner just for playing the game, even if at the end there's only one grand prize winner at the end. I think that we should reward prizes along the way, and people should be encouraged and empowered and rewarded for playing the game, up to the point to where they win the game. I call that, by the way, the reason we love to do this is what I call the law of empowerment. The law of empowerment simply says that anything that serves to make us more powerful in one area of our life helps to make us more powerful in other areas of our life. So if we can, for example, do something to increase our personal health, either through losing weight or through some physical accomplishment, it serves to empower us. It serves to make us feel stronger about ourselves. And that feeling stronger about ourselves inspires us to be more confident in other areas of our life. So we definitely want to feel empowered because that increases confidence and increases our ability to actually dip into our personal power and our strength and employ that for our benefit in many areas of our life. And we want to feel empowered. And that's why gaming theory works, is because when we play a game, even if it's a simple little game of solitaire on our computer, and we win that game, it serves to make us feel more empowered. It was one of the really surprises on the road to enlightenment, on the surprises to this path of wisdom that I've been on, is when I learned to be able to sit in the silence and play little games on my tablet. This little zing that I got, this little zing of joyfulness whenever I win a game that's even the most simple game. It's really surprising to see what's going on in my subconscious mind through sitting in the silence and observing what's going on, and really, really being in tune with those innermost actions and attitudes. And I can tell you that it always brings a smile to my face when I win a little game, when I complete a little puzzle, and I feel that inner zing of empowerment that comes from that activity. It's just quite amazing. And I know we all have it. We all love to win. We all love to feel like a winner. And feeling a winner in one area of our life can really translate into other areas of our life as well. Here's why you really need to understand why games work and elements of gamification theory. And that is, number one, is to know when we are being gamed. So we can tell when somebody is consciously manipulating our behavior by offering and employing techniques in gamification theory. We want to be able to employ the techniques in our own business. We want to be able to increase our customer loyalty by employing gamification techniques into our business, which can lead and does lead into increasing revenues and profits. And also customer loyalty leads to pricing flexibility. So when you find that you have an extremely loyal customer base or client base, it's not very difficult for you to increase your prices 5% or 10%. People will not go away for a 10% price increase or maybe even a 15% price increase because you have built up vendor equity with them. You've built up a habit with them of coming back and continuing to engage with your company and to continuing to buy your products and services. But you cannot increase prices that much if you don't have customer loyalty. If you have customer loyalty through game playing techniques, then you do have the opportunity for pricing flexibility, and people will not go away because you build up they've built up the habit of doing business with you. They've built up the habit of engaging with you, and they're not going to be able to let go of that habit. They're not going to want to let go of that habit for something like as simple as a 5 or 10% price increase. You can also use game theory to increase your team performance, just like that we do when we go to increase sales. So as I mentioned earlier, I've been on many different sales teams at very large companies, and they were all the time running a sales contest. You can apply those same sort of contests into other areas of your business. For example, in your purchasing department, you can have a contest that says, the person who saves us the most money through negotiating purchasing contracts, will get to go with the team that is on the sales contest of Maui. I know that one of the companies that I worked for always allowed other departments of the business, the accounting department, the engineering department, the manufacturing department, to actually appoint and anoint somebody in that department to go with the sales team on their annual reward trip, so that people were incentivized throughout the entire company to be able to be one of the people to get that President's Award or to get that contest reward so that they could go and attend that sales trip as well. So I encourage you to understand game theory so that you know when you are being gamed and so that you can apply it in your business. In the book Hooked, the author talks about the hook model, which has 4 components to it: the trigger, the action, the variable reward, and the investment. And he offers this diagram, which you can see on your screens now, which comes directly from the book Hooked, where he focuses on the trigger, either external or internal rather, inspiring us, causing us, triggering us to take action, for which we get some sort of rewards, preferably a variable reward, and then we make an additional investment in the game based upon those rewards, which causes us to, in an interactive and spiral way, to get more and more and more hooked on the game that we are playing. First, let's talk about the trigger itself. That trigger can be an external trigger, which can be an email or a notification to somehow, hey, it's your turn to play the game. It can be bells and lights to say, it's our turn to take action. It can be marketing messages that come our way and other external events. So here's an example of a trigger which may come your way. Every Friday, I send out an email for people to sign up to attend our office hours presentation. And as a reward for them signing up, we offer special programs. We offer, a free strategy session, a small strategy session for those people when they first engage with us. And that is, so we're sending them the external trigger, asking them to take action, and we are giving them a reward as a result of that. Those triggers can also be internal triggers. They can be habits that are built up over time or your own internal thoughts and feelings which remind you to play a game. One of the things that I get, by the way, as an internal trigger is whenever I sense that I'm starting to get tired, whenever I sense that my concentration is not to where I want it to be, I am internally triggered to take a 5-minute break out to play a very simple game so that I can recharge my batteries, so I can step back into a greater sense of empowerment, and I can begin to do work again, this time with a little bit renewed sense of optimism and renewed sense of energy than I had a few minutes before I played that game. So there was an internal trigger that I have, and you might have those internal triggers as well, that remind us to stop and take some other sort of action that that really pays off for us in the long run. So the second step is the action itself. And we encourage people to post Facebook posts, LinkedIn posts. We encourage people to play the games. We encourage people to click and to follow. We encourage people to like. We encourage people to interact with other people. And we encourage people to buy. There are two primary factors about whether or not somebody will take the action that we're wanting them to take. One is the ease of taking that action, and the other one is the motivation or the promise of a reward for taking that action. So you can right now go to my Facebook page, for example, and like the posts that are up there, and that's very, very easy to do. And if I offered a motivation to you for liking those Facebook posts, you might be more inspired to do that. I think it's going to be very easy for you, by the way, to make a comment or to ask a question at the end of this presentation. And I want you to be inspired to do that because, as we mentioned early in the presentation today, the person who offers the most insightful comment or asks the most intriguing question, as determined by your esteemed panel of judges of Stephanie and I, you will get an opportunity to have a free 1-hour coaching session. Next comes the variable reward, and I say variable reward because variable rewards are far more in habit forming than are other types of consistent rewards. And this happens not just with people, but with animals of all kinds. So there's been lots of experiments done with birds, for example. If every time a bird rings a bell, you reward that bird with a little pellet of food, that bird will ring the bell and ring the bell and ring the bell. But at some point in time, they're going to stop ringing the bell because they're full and they don't see the value in the reward anymore. But if you make that reward random so that every other time the bird rings the bell, they get a pellet, or every once in a while when they ring the bell, they might get 3 pellets, that random reward, not only random for the timing of the reward, but for the size of the reward, will really inspire that bird to ring the bell. The bird will ring the bell furiously, and it seems to get infuriated whenever they haven't gotten the reward that they want, because random reward, random in terms of frequency and random in terms of size of the reward, really increases the game playing behavior because it creates a craving. It creates a craving through unexpected responses, through surprises, and what's called the unfulfilled anticipation of a reward. I guarantee if you go to Vegas and play the slot machines, or wherever you can play the slot machines, that you'll see this to be true. Sometimes we get a small reward, sometimes we get an incredible reward, and it's totally random. It has nothing to do with the skill. All it has to do with our skill of pushing the buttons or pulling the lever that allows us to play that game. That unfulfilled anticipation of reward just increases the craving. So like the bird who is ringing the bell to get the little pellets of food, whenever they think about ringing the bell, it builds up a little anticipation of reward. And when that reward doesn't come and they ring the bell again, that builds up a little more anticipation of reward. And if that doesn't come again, it keeps building up the anticipation of reward and building it up until when it finally comes, we get not only the relief from having the pellet of food or pellets of food, but we also get the incredible relief of the satisfaction of the craving that came through this unfulfilled anticipation of reward. Unfortunately, this applies to things like drug habits. You know, when somebody is addicted to a drug or addicted to alcohol or addicted to some other substance of some kind, unfortunately, the longer that they go without it and then they get it again, the more addicting that can be. That's one of the reasons why people who have quit smoking or quit drinking or quit a nasty drug habit for a long period of time, if they think that they can go back to that and then they will be able to go away from it easily, they're really quite wrong about that. Because when they go back to that bad habit, they are fulfilling that unfulfilled anticipation of reward that they had built up into their systems for such a long time, and you can immediately get hooked again, even though that you've been quit for a long, long time. So I always say that the only way to really quit a nasty habit is to never engage in that habit again. And unfortunately, that's what makes eating or dieting so difficult, because of the habit of overeating. You just have to make a commitment to yourself that you're never going to overeat again, that you're always going to control your eating. We digress just a little bit. The fourth step in the hooked model is to make an additional investment. And once they have gotten the reward, we encourage them to make an additional investment in terms of effort, time, data, social capital, which means like we're sharing this with our family and friends, and additional money as well, because the more that somebody invests, the more likely they are to continue investing in order to get additional reward and in order to prove themselves right. We human beings have an incredible need to be right about something. We have a need to be right about our predictions for who's going to win a contest. We have a need to be right about our particular theories and our particular path, our particular political party, our church party, whatever it happens to be. We have a strong, strong need to be right. And once we have received the investment from playing a game, we'll make additional investments because we want to be seen as being right. And that is the hook model. These 4 steps: triggers which can come internally or externally, action that we take in order to get an anticipated reward, and then we'll make an additional investment in the game, which will either cause us to enjoy greater external triggers or additional internal triggers through the development of a habit to play these games over and over and over again. Let's talk just a little bit about the ethics of hooking. Generally, from my perspective, that which is done with goodwill and with good intentions in when we wish our clients well and is focused on long-term win-win relationships is quite okay. When we're really looking out for the best interest of somebody else, even if it's a matter of saying, giving our toddler an attaboy when they eat their green beans, or an attaboy when they pick up their room, or somehow reward them in some very positive way for them to have a behavior that we really like. You know, Johnny, if you go to bed on time every night this week, we're going to go to the park on Saturday. You know, is that ethical? Is that I think it's very ethical, because we're asking people to build up good habits for themselves that will pay off for them in the long run, using gaming techniques of leveling up, of points, badges, leaderboards, of variable rewards, in order to build up habits that we know will pay off in the long run. I think that that's perfectly okay. That which is done to manipulate, steal from each other, punish others, starve people, have a really win-lose relationship outcome, I don't think is okay at all. So we see that too, of course. People employ game techniques when those game techniques, you know, are not ethical, and I'm not a big fan of that. But here's the deal. You get to be your own ethics coach. You get to decide for yourself whether employing gaming techniques in your business to increase the stickiness of your products, to increase behavior that you want to be increased, are ethical or not. You can always talk to your coach and therapist and counselor and business consultant about that, but generally you get to be your own ethics coach when it comes to whether or not you should employ gaming techniques in your particular business. So here's the bottom line. The bottom line is gamification is incredibly powerful because of the law of empowerment, because of who we are as human beings, and it's here to stay. Knowing what hooks people with your company allows you to better see when you are being hooked, and allows you to ethically and responsibly hook others. In other words, build up loyalty from your customer base. And that's been our agenda for today. We talked a little bit about the author Nir Eyal and his great book, Hooked. We gave a brief introduction to gamification. We talked about the 4 steps of the hook model. Excuse me, I'll go back. And we talked about the ethics of hooking and summed it all up to the bottom line. So here's your homework and your exercise. I want you to look for hooking techniques in your own world and beginning to open up your eyes toward them. And as you look around now that we've had this conversation, I think you're going to see them everywhere. And I suggest to you, as I always do whenever I give a report or a presentation based upon a book, to go out and buy the book. It's only like $10 for the Kindle version of it, or you can buy the hardback version as well. But I invite you to buy the book and study it. There are, of course, a lot more examples, a lot more in-depth knowledge of gaming techniques and of hooking techniques in the book than I was able to present to you in this simple little presentation today. But I encourage you to think about putting some simple game mechanics into your products and your marketing, and get somebody on your team who really understands these concepts and principles to help you implement them successfully in your business. We've had several office hours presentations that are related to the subject of gaming theory and employing gamification techniques in your business. Number 50 was on delivering happiness, which is the Zappos story. On 51, we talked about social proof marketing. On 57 was about a very similar book called Made to Stick, which I found to be fascinating. At 65, we talked a lot more about the power of habits, and on 104, we talked about how to be great at marketing, which in a way also talks about employing game theories into the marketing for your business. In just a minute, we're going to go into open Q&A and coaching, where we encourage you to offer comments and questions on the topic of the day and any other issues. And of course, today we are playing a game, so the person who offers the best comment, the best question, gets a free one hour coaching session. And we also encourage you to tell me what biggest takeaways you have and what insights you got from the presentation, and tell me what you're going to do with this. Tell me what you're going to focus on. Here at the Hoyt Management Group, we offer support on 3 different levels. On the level of teaching you and educating you so you can go do it by yourself and for yourself. On the level of doing it with you, where we help you create financial models, business plans, and all kinds of other things, product funnels, sales systems, etc., that we work with you to develop, so you develop something that you can own and take ownership in, but we do it with the assistance of our professional staff. And in some cases, we do things for you. So in some cases, you can actually throw things over the wall and trust us to do a great job and then return it back to you on time, on budget, in a very high quality way. Our next office hours session will be next Monday on June the 27th. We haven't determined what it is we're going to talk about, but I encourage you to offer some suggestions by going to paulsurvey.com and offering suggestions, or just simply sending me an email on things that you want to do. And in between now and the time that we meet again next week, I invite you to do your homework. And with that, let's open it up to comments and questions on the topic of the day, and then anything else that you want to talk about. Stephanie, do we have any comments and questions for today?
Yep, we do. Let's see what's coming in right here. Okay. Oh, come on, I can do this. All right, first question.
Yep.
I'm a coach. How do I use gaming techniques in my business?
Excellent question. I think it depends entirely on what behaviors that you want to incentivize somebody to employ in. So one kind of an anti-gaming technique that we can use, that I've seen some coaches say, is that, hey, if you cancel the session, you lose the session. If you don't show up within 5 minutes of the time that the session starts, you lose the session. If you don't show up, some people say even if you don't show up on time, that I'm only going to wait 1 minute for you, that you lose the session. That's kind of an anti, kind of discouraging behaviors that you don't want to see somebody have. But on a positive note, you could offer somebody a reward if they encourage somebody else to come and try out your website. You can offer a reward for a referral. You can offer a reward that says that, if you purchase 12 coaching sessions, you get the 13th one free, which increases customer loyalty. You could say that if you've been my client for over 6 months, I'm going to freeze the price. That's right. So you'll never have another price increase if you employ our coaching services for over 6 months in a row, or for over a year in a row, however you intend to do that. But the key is to figure out which which behaviors that we want to reward. We want to reward people for showing up on time and for not canceling, too close to the time of the actual call, so we can use that hour or hour and a half to our benefit in some other way. We want to reward people for sticking around, for being a long-time client. So we'll reward those in some way for those people who have, spent more than $1,000 with us, spent more than $5,000 with us, by saying that, anybody who spends more than $5,000 with our firm is a gold client. And from that point in time on, they enjoy the maximum discount that we ever offer on any of our products and services. Is an interesting way in order for you to reward the behavior that you want to reward. So I would encourage you to think about that first. First, think about the behavior that you want to reward, and then think about how you can reward that behavior. And then to be kind of the next level is, how can you reward that on a random basis so that people really become addicted to playing the game with us, so that, once a week we give out at random a free coaching session to all of our coaching clients, and remind people that, because you're a coaching client this week, we're going to put your name in the hat, and at the end of the week we're going to announce the winner of our lottery contest this week for who gets the free coaching session from all of our current clients. That's another sample way that you could do that. My belief is that when you think about it in those terms, what behaviors that you want to reward, and then how you can reward them, and how you can reward them randomly, is you'll come up with some very interesting and creative ways to apply gamification techniques into your business, even one as simple as being a coach. Hopefully that was helpful. Stephanie, other comments and questions?
Yep. Let's see. Next one. Who can I turn to get some assistance on developing sales games for my team?
Well, certainly we can do that at, I would say, a simple first-time level. I do know some consultants out there that is their entire business, and they charge, $100,000 to a Fortune 50 company or a Fortune 100 company to come in and design the sales contest for that company. And it's worth it, by the way, for a company that's got $1 billion in revenue. Anything that they can do to increase the effectiveness of their sales team can be really, really beneficial for them. So there are teams out there or companies rather, that specialize in designing those programs and actually managing those programs. So if you want to, for example, give your sales team a trip to Maui at the end of the year, if for everybody that makes quota for that team, that's a big deal. Trips to Maui, cost your company, I'm guessing, $100,000 to send, 20 people to Maui for a week, maybe more than that. So you want to make sure that you've hired the top talent in order to structure the game and structure the contest by which people win the trip to Maui, and then to actually plan and manage the event when they get there so that it's really, really fulfilling to them. You don't want them to go to Maui and have a bad experience, because then when you announce the trip to Jamaica the following year and people say, how was that trip to Maui? People say, well, yeah, it was okay. You're going to deflate the purpose of that, defeat the purpose of that. So you want to make sure it's a stellar experience too. So there are companies out there, Merit comes to mind out of St. Louis, that you can pay them $50,000 in order for them to design and manage your $500,000 or $1 million year sales contest if you're playing at that kind of a level. But for most of us, we're not playing at that kind of a level. We're just playing at a really simple level, and you need some advice on how to fund and how to implement a SPIF, which SPIF stands for Sales Performance Incentive Fund, SPIF. And we can certainly help you do that, because we've had experience in those areas in businesses ourselves, and we've had experience in helping some of our clients design those games at a very simple level. So I'd be happy to entertain your phone call, and either Stephanie or I can help you design that basic sales contest to increase your sales effectiveness in your company. Hopefully that helps. Stephanie.
Yeah, you know, I used to work at Victoria's Secret. I think I've told you in the catalog sales, and there was never a day that I went to work where there was not some contest or some promotion or something going on to incentivize us.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire floor, sales floor, they had designed it to facilitate that kind of environment. It was really, they are one of the, well, it's been a long time since I worked there, but they're still in business, so I'm guessing that they're still doing pretty well.
Yeah,
But they were very successful at that.
That's excellent. So Stephanie would be a great person for you to talk to about how to design a little sales contest for your company.
So fun.
Even for yourself, by the way. I always encourage people to design contests with themselves. To ask yourself the question, how would I like to be rewarded for making quota this month? How would I like, and figure out some sort of an incentive so that you can even play the game with yourself, so that you can somehow incentivize yourself through game theory in order to do the behaviors that you want yourself to engage in as well. I see some great comments coming in here. Stephanie, what's next on your list?
Let's see what we got here. Let me scroll up here. A couple of techniques, a couple of comments.
Uh-huh.
We can look at hooking as a technique to facilitate buying. People generally don't like to be sold, but they appreciate assistance in making buying decisions. Yep.
I love that. That's a great comment. So first, and if I may echo back there, the first thing that we want to try to do is to get engaged with our clients, because engaging with our clients builds trust and rapport, and it builds up that loyalty. And then we can make offers or suggestions to them, or maybe they'll even just figure out on their own how they want to do business with us. But certainly one of the very first things that we want to do is to engage with our clients. And there's nothing like gaming techniques to help us engage with our clients in a very repetitive, ongoing way. So great comment. Next, Stephanie.
Another comment. We have been trained to be so careful with the line between manipulation and incentivizing. Millennials can see straight through this element, and as they jump ship from Facebook, any thoughts on where to draw the line, or be able to present that we are using these gamification techniques to get a response, having it more natural and just a part of life, being more transparent?
Well, I see that you say that people are jumping ship from Facebook. I don't know that that's not been my experience for people jumping ship from Facebook. My experience has been that people engage in other social media platforms as well. They're into Pinterest and Instagram and Snapchat and other types of interesting things. But I don't think that Facebook in general would say that their customer engagement is down that much. The way that we tell whether or not our little gaming techniques are doing the job is through statistics and through metrics. So my belief is, and I'm sure this is true of Facebook, that whenever they introduce something new into their Facebook model, they check to see whether or not it increased engagement or decreased engagement. They check to see whether or not it increased ad revenue or decreased ad revenue. Did it increase the click-through rate or decrease it? Is the time on Facebook increasing or decreasing? So we check those things out a lot through metrics. And that, of course, is how we tell that whether or not anything's working in our business, is by judging the results of that. We can do surveys. We can ask people what they think and what they feel about this, which can be very, very helpful. But really the valuable lesson comes from, and the valuable information comes from, what did people actually do? Did they actually engage with us? Did they actually stay on? Did they reduce the frequency with which that they signed into Facebook? All of those different behaviors. So I think that's the way that we tell what is actually working, not so much through asking people their opinions and thoughts, which again are really very useful because you never know what kind of ideas are going to come out of that, but by actually watching their behavior and watching and measuring the performance that we see on our systems. That's the way we tell whether or not our gaming techniques are working, or whether they're drawing people to us and encouraging and facilitating the type of behavior that we want, or whether they're pushing people away and people are not doing what we want them to do as often as we want them to do it. So great comment. I appreciate that, Jay. Next comment or question, Stephanie.
Yep. How can gamification help clients see or learn about trends using information they already know? Are there games to practice leadership, management, or decision-making that can help players connect the dots in their business?
That's a really interesting question. Certainly there are games, there are leadership games that are being played in universities a lot, in like an MBA program. It's very common for you to take a class in an MBA program where the class is split up into teams and they play, the business game. You get to decide what products you're going to offer. You get to decide what markets you're going to serve. You get to decide what your pricing is, whether you want to price yourself as a premium quality or a moderate quality or an inexpensive bargain brand. You get to decide, how much money you want to spend on marketing, how much money you want to spend on sales and sales incentive funds, etc. In some cases, those are played, in the context of very sophisticated games that are programmed into your computer, and you play against a computer. In some cases, we just let the market decide for itself, and you're playing the game against, other teams in that particular class. So that's a way of employing gaming theory to learn behaviors in leadership and in decision making that can really pay off as well. And I think in a lot of different leadership training programs, we have games about leadership theory that encourage people to be decisive, encourage people to follow the person that they see as being the strongest leader within the context of that particular contest or particular game, that can really help us learn leadership techniques and learn, things that are extremely valuable to us over time. So, if you go to a sales training class, it's very common for there to be contests within that sales training class, even if it's simple contests about, everybody's going to give a presentation, and we're going to reward the person who is voted by the class to have given the best presentation. So we reward good behavior in that sense as well. Or here in Silicon Valley, there are probably 20 pitch events every single week where you go see the pitch event, and the rewards from that pitch event can be that somebody actually writes you a check and invests in your business. So we get an opportunity to see immediate reward in the case of those games as well. So anytime that we have a contest, anytime there is more than one person competing for a prize, it is essence is that we're employing gaming techniques and gamification techniques to reward specific behaviors, and you can see how that might apply in your business too. Hopefully that was helpful. Next question or comment, Stephanie. We got 12:58, so we got time for one or two more.
Okay. My window is not cooperating here. Okay. We got some great comments here. Ooh. Let's go into another question.
Okay, and I can see the question log here as well. Maybe I'll look around. Go ahead if you have a question.
Couple of comments here, a couple of suggestions, and maybe you want to talk live with Jay. He suggests integrating game storming as a process internally to be more engaged with brainstorming as part of the game process.
I'm going to be very courageous here because I encourage people to be courageous. I'm going to be courageous and unmute Jay.
There you go.
You're so courageous, Paul. I'm impressed.
So Jay, you talk about game storming a little bit. Tell the folks on the call today, what is game storming? Because I know that's a trademark term that you invented a few years ago.
So game storming is the act of the brainstorming, but having more fun and engaging processes within it. So it's a structure just like we do when we do whiteboarding and brainstorming and coming around to be creative together in groups. So we've developed a process that, and you're a part of it, of this using our game technology, which is a reflection of the game of life, and especially the business version of that, which is with right principles in business, and to be able to come together in groups and play, and through the act. I've been translating gamification because it's been kind of misused in one direction, and I still use it quite a bit, but I believe that gamification 2.0 is called playification. So it's more about the play, and I see that inside of the game storming, that we're more engaged in play and enjoying that time of coming up with creative ideas.
I like that term, and I like the whole concept of game storming as well. And might I suggest that, in keeping in the theory of today, that when the game storming begins, that the parties who are engaged in that find a way to reward people who really do a fantastic job. They can choose, whether to reward everybody equally at the end of the game storming session, or point out, some subset of all of the players to be rewarded for the incredible work that they did during that game storming session.
Yeah, that was one of the takeaways I had from today when you were talking about the win right at the beginning, and it's something that we've been looking to weave in. We have a lot of more esoteric applications for the game, but finding them more tangible, and having that reward when someone comes up with an idea for themselves or for another, and being rewarded, some points or that can translate to something of value, but to have that piece of it. So kind of what is the win in today's session, or in today's interaction, or with my intention, kind of winning for the day, and having that as part of it. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and another idea for you is I know a lot about Experience the Game. It's been my pleasure to work with Jay here for nearly a decade, I believe, or more, maybe even more than that. To reward people to play the game. You get a lot of reward from playing his game, just in the insight that comes and the fulfillment that comes from playing the game too. But you might think about applying a little bit of game theory there, like play the game with a bag of M&Ms or something like that can even turn that gamification into playification even more. And so I encourage you to do that. And the next time that I play the game with you, I look forward to receiving a few M&Ms for myself.
One last thing is just the invite for because we're working on your cards to go into the game as we open this up to the public very soon. People will be able to add their own cards into this game of life. And just, from this network that you've built of people, just inviting them to be part of your game, because they're part of your game, and they have their own games as part of it, so it's not that you're gaming them, but you're inviting them to be part of your game and as part of your community. And so just as, I would love to make that as an invitation through us doing that work in how this can be a benefit.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We are at 1:03, so I'm going to wrap up our office hours presentation for today. Stephanie, as we promised at the beginning and at the middle and now at the end of this, we want to reward a 1-hour free consultation to the person who made the best comments and the best questions at the end of it. Who would you just think would be the winner, Stephanie?
Well, I have a couple of ideas.
Okay.
I think that Jay had some awesome ideas. I think that Jackie Chan, Dr. Chan, also had some great ideas. We didn't get to really talk, we didn't get that far. And Jim also had some great comments.
And it's tough to choose, but I'm going to choose Jay Jay Hudis, our commenter, because he made like 5 comments during the presentation today. And I really appreciate the opportunity for him to chip in. Jay's an expert in gaming. He's been working on gaming for a long, long time. So just to have him on the call was a great joy. And I also want to give a shout out though to Jim Edgerton with his business called Business on the Board. Jim is a master chess player and takes chess strategy and helps people understand how to employ that in their business. So I give a shout out. Actually, I think we're going to have 2 winners for today. I think we're going to have Jay Hudis as a winner for an hour, and we're going to have Jim Edgerton as a winner as well for an hour free strategy session. So gentlemen, if you would, jump in and get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to have an hour with you to talk about your business, see whatever we can do to help you move forward in your business. So there's a little bit of a surprise today. I want to thank everybody who started out with us today and who's still here at the end of the call. Thank you very much for your kind attendance. I hope you're able to employ game theory into your business and somehow make it more attractive and get the results that you want to build a more profitable, more sustainable, more scalable business. And until we meet the next time, this is Paul Hoyt wishing you a most marvelous and prosperous day. Bye-bye.